Welcome to Women's Sports Weekly, where women's sports happens every day, but we talk about it once a week. I'm Carolyn.
And I'm Danielle. Women's Sports Weekly is a podcast where we discuss the latest news, explore interesting stories, and share our love for women's sports. Follow us on Instagram at Women's Sports Weekly Pod. Hey, Carolyn, how's it going?
Great. It's like we haven't been together all day. I'm tired.
Same.
We had a great weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, we barely left each other's sight for how many days?
It's amazing how much time we can spend together.
It is. Yeah. And not get sick of each other.
And we really don't.
I know.
And I need my alone time, and you're very good at honoring me having my alone time, but we do spend a lot of time together.
We do. And to be fair, we were on vacation, so obviously we were doing a lot together. And it was also a lot of fun to spend time with my sister Amanda and her boyfriend James.
It was so fun. We were in Big Sky, Montana. Never been to Montana before, and it's beautiful there.
Yeah, it was really unbelievable, and I know why they call it Big Sky. I feel like the whole time I'm on the mountain, I'm like, everything is so massive here. Like the mountains surrounding the ski mountain, everything just seemed so close and so big.
And living in Denver, I mean, we're close to the mountains, but not like Big Sky where they're just right in front of you and all around.
Just getting to ski for 3 days in a row and not have any other worries was really enjoyable, and always have fun skiing with friends and family. So getting to ski with my sister, which has honestly become a yearly tradition since moving out here. I think Amanda and I have gotten to ski every year for the past couple of years, which has been really cool.
It's great to have family time, not just in Denver, not just on the East Coast, but to go to a place that neither of us have seen before and get to spend that family time. It's becoming one of my favorite memories with your sisters.
Yeah, same. And let me tell you, if you like to ski, definitely go to Big Sky. If you like to après-ski, definitely go to Big Sky.
Oh my gosh. Well, hold on. We need to back up a little bit, because the Brogan sisters, your maiden name is Brogan.
Yep.
The Brogan sisters do everything to the max. So when they ski to the max. We're skiing at least 17 miles a day. We are going hard. We're barely stopping for lunch. And then après-ski. And Shondell, my French speaker, what does après mean?
Well, to be fair, I was calling it a pre, and I've been living in Denver for almost 5 years, so you would think I would know it was après by now. But après-ski means after ski. And what people like to do is grab a few drinks after skiing. Well, here at Big Sky on Fridays and Saturdays, they get a DJ out there.
So fun.
And they call it the Plaza. So après-ski, everyone's grabbing drinks at the bar or going into the Moose Market and grabbing 6-packs or bottles of champagne. And it turns into a dance floor.
And we were doing both. We were getting drinks at the bar and going to buy 6-packs from the market.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. How many times in your life can you say you're dancing outside in your ski boots, in your ski outfit without a care in the world? And just really having fun. One of my favorite parts was seeing the dogs at the base of the mountain, just hanging with everyone.
The dogs at the base of the mountain hanging at après-ski, the DJ playing some amazing music, and then a bunch of people who really have no right to be dancing in their ski boots, clomping, clacking around.
AKA me.
And me. I was right there out there with you. Clomping around and twirling and just having a really good time after a really long day.
Yeah, it was great. Saturday night, unfortunately, when we got back to our car, it did not start. So that really was a buzzkill. It happens, though. We made the best of it and had some really nice people help us jump our car because AAA was not getting to us. Not coming to the rescue. Thank you to those people out there who stopped to see if we were okay, to provide jumper cables, and to provide support while we tried to jam. And I say we, James did all the work as we sat there jamming the jumper cables into the car and finally getting it started. That was quite the journey.
And to be clear to our listeners, I've jumped many a car in my life. I used to have a really beat up Toyota that I had to jump all the time. I know how to do it, red to red, black to black. This rental car had a special kind of battery where the black piece connects was all the way stuck in the back. Poor James, his hands were bleeding trying to get back there.
And there were multiple men trying to muster this thing back there.
And finally, like 2.5 hours later, multiple calls with AAA, we finally got it figured out on our own. Again, James finally figured it out and we got out of there. But I was too busy making snow angels in the parking lot to care too much.
And that was fun, and we made the most out of it without getting upset. And the one thing I enjoyed about that experience was just chatting with strangers and getting to know them a little bit. You know, I'm usually not the most talkative to people I don't know, but could tell these people were just genuine and nice and wanting to help. And they just kind of felt like free-spirited people out there. And that's also what I love about skiing in mountain towns. I just think you get a lot of happy-go-lucky people who are really just trying to have a good time.
We are such city folk in the way that we like to be around people. Growing up near New York City is the city that I know. And so Denver to me feels like a suburb compared to New York City. And so when we go to these places like Montana that are super rural and people are like, oh my gosh, you're from Denver, it's way too crowded there. It kind of just blows my mind. But to go and see different parts of the country and meet people who are definitely different from us, to connect with them. And at the end of the day, when your car's battery dies, someone's there to help. It's really heartwarming to be part of.
It is.
Can you tell the listeners about my skiing ability compared to yours?
I don't feel like that's a very fair setup.
Tell the people the
okay,
truth.
well, let's start here. I grew up skiing in Vail once a year. I'd go there for a week. And my grandpa had me on the slopes, I think at 2 years old. And he would put me in ski school for half a day. And then the other half, he had me with a rope tied around my waist, which I have pictures of. And he would just have me on a rope as we ski down the mountain. So I've been skiing for a long time.
I understand that, but I have been skiing since I was little in Vermont. I remember going on Black Diamonds, one of the hardest trails to ski, with my dad, and I would be so nervous that I would pee my pants the entire way down. And this is what happens when you're the youngest of three and your two older siblings are ready and raring to go, and your dad is also ready and raring to go. And that's what I did. But skiing that young has not translated into my skiing ability now.
Which is interesting. I just didn't have those fears as a kid. I learned how to ski fast at a young age and would always follow my older cousin around. And my mom was always a great skier. So I think I just had role models to look up to and just found it so fun. So I think that has translated into adulthood skiing. Like, I like to go off jumps. Not that I'm doing anything crazy. And I will pick up faster speeds, whereas you're just a little more cautious, I will say. And you had double knee surgery in college. So having two different knee surgeries, I, knock on wood, have been lucky enough not to deal with that. So I'm sure that has something to do with it as well.
You are being incredibly kind. Danielle, and I hate to admit this because Danielle and I are so competitive with each other. She is 10 times a better athlete than I will ever be. Things just come so naturally to you, to the point where it makes me want to scream.
I've witnessed.
And you are so graceful down the mountain. Meanwhile, I am twirly birding, falling out of nowhere, and I swear a tree root is there, but honestly, I'm just up and then I am down on my face rolling around. I have a lot of fun. I'm just not a great skier, but we did get to see a lot of great skiing in Big Sky.
Yes, and let's jump into that. So I never really think about skiing as a college sport, but it's in the Olympics, so I don't know why it just never really crossed my mind. I guess because our colleges didn't have it. So when we were in Montana, it was really cool. We saw the course set up and we saw all those college flags set up. So turns out the NCAA regional qualifiers for skiing was this past weekend in Big Sky. The course was set up near the base of the mountain,
so everyone could watch, which was really cool.
But we saw two of the events happen on Friday and Saturday. So just some background. We were watching the West region. There's also a East and a Central region.
Okay.
And Montana State was the host of that event.
I wonder where the Central region skis.
Central, it had Michigan on the website.
Okay,
I was looking
that makes sense. I'm like, where are they skiing?
And I think East was Vermont when I looked.
Also makes sense.
So starting March 6th, they will have the NCAA championships, and it's in Steamboat, Colorado, actually.
Another great place to ski. So what events did we watch? We're going to talk about women's only.
Yes, I'm going to mess up this word, even though I practiced this prior. But Friday we saw the women's giant. Can you say it?
No, you do.
Slalom.
Yeah, slalom. You got it.
Okay, the giant slalom, and then on Saturday we saw the slalom. So I'm going to explain the difference. And it's really hard to see if you're not visualizing this. So I would recommend, if you're listening right now, to just Google this so you can get a visual. But the giant slalom is considered the fastest technical event for downhill skiing. It features fewer and wider turns than the slalom, and as a result, faster speeds because you're turning less.
Okay.
And each skier makes 2 runs down the slope.
Mm-hmm.
So they add up the 2 times. So they add up their first time and their second time, combine them.
Oh.
And the total time out of the 2 runs is what their time is.
So it's not even best out of 2. So if you stink it up on your
Yep.
first or second run, it's just, that's what counts.
It's total, correct.
Ooh.
So then you have the slalom. It features a shorter course, so it's the shortest course and quickest turn. Each skier makes 2 runs down the slope, same deal.
Thing.
And it's both. For the giant slalom, skiers can get close to 50 miles per hour.
Wow.
Think about driving a car.
Yep.
When you're going 50 miles per hour, that's fast.
That is fast. To be on skis with just a helmet on, I would be so afraid.
And their outfits are pretty much like tights.
Yeah.
And they do wear shin guards, which is interesting.
So if you're thinking about this as a listener, if you've ever seen those red and blue poles or those red and blue poles with tiny little flags, that's what we're talking about when we're talking about slalom.
Yeah.
They are moving so quickly. They are navigating back and forth. And we actually, after they were done, they kind of left the course open and we went on it, and there's no way I'm even making one of those turns, and it looks wider than it actually is. And they are just moving. Their leg strength must be insane.
Oh yeah. So afterwards I was curious to see who won each event. For the giant slalom,
Are we never gonna
No.
be able to get over slalom?
no, I'm not. Denise Dingsletter from CU Boulder came in first.
Go Buffs.
Yes, go Buffs. She's a grad student from Austria.
Wow. Austria.
Yes. So her first run was 57.25. Her second run was 56.15. So the total was 153.40. And for the slalom, Kaja Norby from Utah University came in first, and she's a junior from Norway.
So many international students.
Yes, and I want to get into that in a second. Her first run, and don't forget this is a shorter course, so these are a little quicker, 50.51 and 51.17 with a total of 1 minute, 41 seconds, 0.68. So she came in first, and I saw Austria and Norway. So I was like, that's interesting. Let me look at these rosters just for those 2 schools.
Yep.
The majority of athletes from both of those schools were international.
That's so interesting because how are they recruiting?
That was going to be my question. How do you think those coaches handle recruiting with so many international students?
Are they just like going to Switzerland and walking around?
Or do these students walk on?
Okay, so when I was at South Carolina, the women's soccer team had a lot of players from Canada on the women's soccer team. But education is cheaper in Canada. This is what they told me. Education is cheaper in Canada than it is in the U.S. Education is insane in the U.S. So a lot of the Canadian players receive full scholarships.
It would only make sense.
Because they could stay in Canada and go to school for a lot less money. So I wonder if it's similar for them where they have to dish out a lot of their scholarship money to international students.
But do you think they have the budgets to recruit overseas like that? Like, it just seems like such a small team sport. I can't imagine they have a lot of money in their budget to travel all over to recruit.
Yeah, that's a good point. I also think skiers in general tend to have more money because
yeah, it's an expensive sport.
Such an expensive sport. Very interesting though.
It was awesome. I just thought it was interesting when I looked at that. But yeah, good luck to the skiers going to the NCAA championships beginning March 6th in Steamboat, Colorado. Utah University has won the last 4 championships. So it'll be interesting to see if they keep that going.
I have to imagine the teams closer to the West Coast, closer to the Rocky Mountains, are better than the teams.
Oh, yeah, then Central and East.
Maybe well, if you can learn how to ski on ice on the East Coast, maybe you're great at it. I don't know.
So I was looking back, and runner-up over the past 4 years as well was either Colorado or Vermont.
Wow.
So okay. Vermont is up there in terms of East. So yep. I think it varies. But yeah, Utah has consistently been in first. So we'll see what happens this year. Yeah, slalom. Great little sport that we got to watch. And it was really cool because we got to watch them as we were après-ing. And then we were on the lift lines. Yes. And then some of the players, after they were done, they joined. They came and après-ed, which I really love to see student athletes just letting loose a little bit, getting to be part of it. And it felt cool to be there and see a really important race for them. People were cheering. People were getting really excited. Signs. Yeah, it was nice. It was a great way to accidentally run into women's sports. And you and I are like, let's sit and watch. Right. Let's see what this is all about. Yeah. So outside of skiing, what did you want to talk about this week? I wanted to highlight Florida Gymnastics this week. So Florida was ranked number 5. We'll see if it changes this week. And they beat number 2 LSU over the weekend. I have talked about LSU a little bit on the pod. Haley Bryant being one of their top gymnasts. And LSU had the lead going into the last event. LSU was on beam. Florida was on floor. And one of Florida's players, Peyton Richards, I don't know if they're called players in gymnastics. Gymnasts. Yeah. One of Florida's gymnasts, Peyton Richards on Florida, suffered an injury on the floor. And so Leanne Wong stepped in to replace her, which is hard to do, to be the backup to come on in. And they're still behind. So Leanne Wong comes in. Floor is not her regular thing that she does, and she comes in and she scores a perfect 10. Wow. I wonder if not knowing you were going to compete that day and not having that build-up pressure helped her in some way. I was thinking about that a little bit. So Wong is a 15-time All-American, and she spent the last summer as a member of the U.S. national team. She's a 2-time reigning SEC beam champion and a member of the All-SEC team for the past 2 seasons. So she's not competing. Beam is more her thing, and she's obviously very good. She probably is that person on her team who is just clutch, like the person you want in the moment to step in, come and do a floor routine, because she's probably good at everything and can deliver every time. And I'm like, that ability to be clutch is a thing as an athlete that I think is underrated and also so essential to having a good team, to have those clutch players. 100%. I think about in high school, the shortstop on our softball team was the definition of clutch. She was always calm. She always delivered. She was so smooth with everything. Like, I would honestly trust her to run the country. I would trust her to run my finances. That's how much I depended on her to be clutch all the time. Every time she got the ball, you knew it was going to be an out. Every time she was up to bat, I was like, I've got faith that she's going to at least put the ball in play. That's awesome. And beyond that, she's probably going to get a hit. It was just so cool to have someone like that on the team. Can you remember any clutch people that you played with? Yeah, you're looking at her. Oh, I can't stand you sometimes. Okay. In all seriousness, though, our pitcher on my high school team, and again, we won league, county, and state championship. Oh, you just can't leave that out. I can't. And our pitcher was unbelievable. unbelievable. Like, I got to witness perfect games during my time there. No hitters, you name it, she did it. And on top of that, she was our cleanup batter. I don't know in college what your experience was if the pitchers hit or if they didn't, but like
Usually not.
this girl was also our cleanup hitter. Like, could hit the ball so far and so well and was just an unbelievable pitcher. And to be in every play of every game as the pitcher and having that much pressure on you, what she did was unbelievable in my eyes.
In high school, I was a pitcher as well. And the pitcher you were talking about and I went to the same pitching instructor.
Yeah.
And I always had my lesson after hers. And I could just see the letdown on the pitcher instructor's face every time I walked in, because they were like, so-and-so hit this number on the speedometer. Are you going to get there? And I was like, no, probably not. She was so good.
So good. And I don't even like to admit this because I consider myself a pretty good athlete and not scared of too many things when it comes to sports. But in practice, if I had to hit against her, I was terrified. The speed in which she threw and the type of pitches she could throw, I hated batting against her.
Were you more afraid that you were going to strike out, or were you more afraid that you were just going to get pelted?
Going to get hit, which is wild, but it was a fear. It was like an irrational fear of mine in high school.
I was always afraid of getting hit with a ball in high school too. And then when I got to college, we had to practice getting hit by balls. I had to practice turning in. It's so hard. It goes against every one of your reactions.
Instincts, yeah.
But yeah, to have a clutch member on your team, it provides a calm. It provides like okay, we got this no matter what. Mm-hmm. And that is what Leanne Wong did from Florida. And so her perfect 10 led them to beat LSU by 1 point. It was 198.950 to 197.950. That's an upset for them.
Wow.
Cool things are happening in gymnastics. And I would also love to eventually interview a gymnast, because I have so many questions about how they take care of themselves, how they maintain a positive body image when they're getting judged based off of their looks and how they move. It's got to be tough. All right, that's our highlights for the week.
All right, Carolyn. So it's the last week of February, Black History Month. What do you have for us?
So I want to talk about my favorite athlete of all time. Can you guess who it is?
Serena Williams.
Serena Williams. She is my favorite. We've been talking about Black history this whole month. Black history is U.S. history. It is human history. And I'm going to talk about Serena's impact on me. Understanding that we are two white women having this conversation, but Black history has impacts on all of us. So I'm going to talk about Serena and the many amazing things and why I love her so much. So Serena Williams is a tennis player. She turned pro in 1995 when she was 14 years old.
Wow. What were you doing at 14?
At 14 years old, I was dancing in my room to NSYNC and making up dances and also making out with my poster of Lance Bass. What were you doing?
That sounds about right. I couldn't even tell you what I was doing.
She turned pro at 14. That was 1995. 1999, she wins her first title at the U.S. Open.
So she was what age?
14 and 4.
18.
Oh boy, we don't do math here, but yeah, it sounds like she was 18. She became the first Black woman since Althea Gibson in 1958 to win a Grand Slam singles title. To give you some context, Althea Gibson was the first African American to win a Grand Slam title. So she won back in 1958, and then it wasn't until 1999 that Serena Williams came across and won a title. I almost focused our whole entire segment today on Althea Gibson because she is just a really amazing person, an amazing athlete. But Althea Gibson was playing at a time when she wasn't allowed in some tournaments because she was Black. So for her to come on the scene and then win the first title for any African American in 1958 is just really astonishing. Back to Serena. She won 23 Grand Slam women's singles titles. And do you know what the Grand Slam titles are?
I believe the U.S. Open is one of them.
The U.S. Open is definitely one of them, and also the Australian Open, Wimbledon, and the French Open.
Right.
So she won 23 of those as well as other tournaments throughout. She was ranked number 1 in the world in singles by the Women's Tennis Association for 319 weeks.
That is like 6 years.
Again, we're not great at math, but that sounds about right.
That's a long time.
Just prolific. She also won 14 major women's doubles titles with her sister Venus. Again, we could spend a whole segment talking about Venus. They were unbeaten in major doubles finals. So anytime the two of them as doubles teammates got to the finals, they won. Just a crazy stat. She holds a combined 39 major titles, 23 in singles, 14 in women's doubles, and 2 in mixed doubles.
And what's mixed doubles?
Mixed doubles is co-ed. 1 man, 1 woman. In 2022, she retired. When I think about Serena, I just wanted to be her when I was younger. I didn't play tennis, but I just saw someone who I wanted to be. She wore this thick Nike headband. It was like this white Nike headband or black. And she wore it in one tournament. And I looked at my mom and I was like, I need one. I think we were actually at the US Open and we were like scouring around for the shops. My mom's such a saint for me to find one, and we couldn't find one there, but we ordered one online. The way she dressed was just so amazing. She had this denim outfit that she wore where she wore a denim skirt and this black tank top that she played in. Some of her outfits were just so cool, so ahead of her time. It was something I really admired. The other thing that I really appreciated about Serena was how incredibly strong she was. It was the first time in my life that I saw a body that was more like mine. I'm not saying I have Serena's body. I wish I had Serena's body. We both grew up at a time when thinness was really emphasized, and being thin was being cool and it was being hot. And so to see Serena just be so incredibly strong, it gave me permission to be like, oh, I can just be strong. I don't have to be the thinnest person. And I've struggled with body image issues my entire life. To see Serena just be strong and powerful, it was so important for me to see when I was younger. And honestly, it's important for me to see now.
Yeah, especially as a young athlete when you're trying to figure it out. And to your point, the focus around women is to be thin, and most of those women that we were around weren't prior athletes or didn't have that mindset to be strong. So definitely a great role model with that. And
Serena showed so much emotion when she played. She would get loud, she would make noises, she would fight calls. And again, Serena's impact on me was I was such a sensitive kid, and a lot of times I got told, like, you're being too much, you're being too loud, you're crying too much. For me to see someone show emotion, someone to get upset and to still excel in that way, it was, again, just so important for me to see as I was growing up, and it's one of the many reasons why I love Serena. So wrapping up, Serena Williams, everyone wants to be her. Every tennis player wants to be her, male or female, black or white. Every athlete wants to be her. She is the epitome of an elite athlete, and she will forever be my favorite. As we wrap up for today, what are you looking forward to this week, Big D?
So once again, there are a ton of great women's basketball games on the schedule for the week to come. There's one game that I'm very excited for. Thursday night, Virginia Tech faces off against Notre Dame.
Woo.
At 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. There's been a lot of hype around the freshman, Hannah Hidalgo. Obviously, on Virginia Tech, we've been talking about Georgia Amore, I think, as 2 point guards. I'm wondering if they'll match up against each other. So curious to see what that will look like. And love Notre Dame. Also like the Virginia Tech players. So that will be a fun game to watch, but definitely rooting for Notre Dame. Go Irish.
I think I'm going to root for Virginia Tech.
Yeah, I know you are.
They're just so hot right now. They are peaking at an amazing time. And I know
you love Georgia.
I know. You thought I was saying so hot and I was talking about Georgia.
No, that's not what I thought, but I knew you were going to root against me as per usual. So definitely, if you can tune into that game, it should be a good one. And also, with March on the horizon, at the end of this week, we are looking at March 1st, which I still cannot believe. Obviously, that means March Madness is upon us. So we are going to create a Women's Sports Weekly bracket for our listeners to be a part of.
Woo! I can't wait.
I'm really excited. So we'll reveal more details as we get closer. The winner will receive a prize.
Don't get too excited, everybody. It's not going to be a huge prize, but we are going to give out a prize.
Hey, it's still a prize. And it's just a fun way to get engaged in the women's bracket. And you always have bragging rights if you win outside of the prize. So hopefully a lot of you will join us. And once again, stay tuned for more details.
And you will get to see the competitiveness between Danielle and I if you join our bracket.
Yes, we will definitely be going at it. And how about you, Carolyn? What are you looking forward to this week?
This week, I am looking forward to some softball. Clemson plays Georgia on Wednesday, February 28th at 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on the SEC Network. Both are ranked in the top 10 at the time that we're recording. As everyone knows, I went to South Carolina. It pains me to say nice things about Clemson.
Wow, I don't think I've ever heard this.
I know. I'm about to do it. Everyone prepare yourselves because I'm probably never going to do this again. But I have to give Clemson some credit.
Go Tigers.
No, Danielle, please. Since 2020, Clemson has added 3 new women's sports teams: softball, women's lacrosse, and gymnastics. And all 3 ranked in the top 25 in their first season.
That's insane.
Some of them within
How is that possible?
Weeks. How is it possible? I don't know, because Clemson doesn't
really
do anything
recruiting.
right.
Huh.
No. Why it's possible is that they have made major financial investments into their women's sports. New facilities, new teams. They're obviously recruiting. I think Clemson's an easy sell for people. They always have great sports teams. It's a great I can't believe I'm saying this. It's a great campus. There's nothing to do in Clemson though. Okay, I won't go on a tirade about.
Please don't. Save us all.
It's interesting because they've made some great financial investments into their women's program. You only make financial investments if you think you're going to get a return on that investment. So Clemson has somehow figured out, and I think more and more schools are figuring out, that women's sports is the growing industry.
Yes.
And that if they invest in women's sports now, it's going to come and pay them back. And to have 3 women's sports make the top 25 all in their inaugural seasons so fast, so quickly, it's really cool to see. I also have to say one other thing nice about Clemson. Their women's gymnastics team has these leotards. You would love them. So
I love their colors to begin
You love
with.
their colors. Your favorite animal is a tiger. They have these leotards that they actually look like tigers. So they have these.
I need to look at them.
You have to. They have these like cool little white bellies, like a tiger belly, and then these cool tiger stripes. It's the coolest leotard I've seen this season. That is 2 compliments, too many.
I'm really surprised right now.
For Clemson. But because it's 2 top 10 teams, they played Georgia. I will definitely be watching. I will be rooting for neither team.
Yeah, both SEC teams that you hate.
Well, no, Clemson's an ACC team, and then Georgia's an SEC team. But I really would prefer both of them to lose the game, but I'm just kidding. I hope it's a good game. It's really cool to see Clemson just rise to the top and play such great softball. So that's what I'll be watching this week. And that is it for this week. We will see you next week on Women's Sports Weekly. In the meantime, watch women's sports. Please rate the podcast on Spotify and Apple. Please share the podcast with your friends and keep sending us topics you want us to cover on Instagram at Women's Sports Weekly Pod. Thanks so much for joining us.